Everybody, that's a bit more illuminating. Hopefully my light won't go off before I am finished this. So I'm coming down to the very last week of my being housed. It's crazy. And oh man, it's insane how unbelievably high the rents are now. I mean, to rent a room in a shared place with 4 other people is like half of my entire paycheck for the month. It's nuts. And that's the cheapest it gets. There was one place, they wanted, for $450, you have the pleasure of renting someone's hallway to sleep in. And there's 3 young guys living there. Like, completely inappropriate. And then I heard, I was reading an article on Kitchener Record that the local colleges are packing in international students at rates that are just makes it impossible to house everybody. And I mean, you have people living like with 13 other people in a 4-bedroom house. Like, it's not even, or possibly even less. Like, it's not legal what they're doing. The bylaws say 2 adults to a bedroom is how you're supposed to live in this, in terms of people per square foot or something. Like, it's crazy. And each of them are paying $400 or $500 a month. And the greedy landlords are just eating it up. Like, that's insane. But there's no place for me there. I'm an old lady. Like, what the hell? And then to get a place on my own is, 75% of my paycheck, and my credit's bad. Something has to break soon, and I just hope it's not going to be me. That's all. Anyway, you don't want to hear about my woes. This month I didn't get a lot read in the last couple weeks, but last weekend was the wasted weekend. So I did manage to get through about 100 pages of the Thornbirds. I'm still working away on that. And I didn't manage to get a whole lot of Shogun listened to. I didn't think I was going to, just because, I mean, it's 52 hours. Like, that's a big commitment, even while you're packing. But as I've said before, nothing says trash fiction like a book that was made into an early 80s made-for-TV miniseries starring Richard Chamberlain. That will always be trash fiction to me. And there's a surprising lot of them. I picked up a couple more. I might read something else for GARBAUGUST, so stay tuned for that. So the Thornbirds, at least the first section of it that I read, is about it's basically, I guess it's a historical romance. It's set in New Zealand and Australia in the early part of the 20th century. And it's about this huge family of Irish descent living in New Zealand, the Cleary family. There's the patriarch, his name is Paddy, and his wife Fiona, who was sort of like, she came from a rich family, and apparently she got in some trouble, and the family convinced her to get married to this guy, and she didn't know how to do anything, and she ended up having to do everything because anything around the house is woman's work. And when the book starts, they have 6 kids. The youngest is Maggie, and she's 4, so she's not old enough to help around the house, and the boys won't. So and the oldest, Frank, is her favorite. And Frank and Patty don't get along at all. They hate each other. So we spend some time with the family, and then, at the end of the first part of the book, Patty's sister, who is also well-to-do. I don't know why Patty's kind of poor, but he's a sheep shearer by trade. And his sister sends him a telegram and says, I've got this sheep ranch in Australia, and I'm not getting any younger, so do you want to come and work for me and you can inherit it when I go. Excuse me. So the whole family picks up and moves to Australia, and there's a a scene of them getting there, and one of the people that spends a lot of time around the place is Father Ralph de Bricasart, and he's kind of like the friend and confidant of Patty's sister. And that's kind of where I've stopped reading, but I'm gonna keep working away at it. But it's a very long book, and that is one of the sort of dangers of getting into these books, that were made into miniseries, is that most of them are north of 500 and 600 pages. The Thornbirds is 700 pages. Shogun is 52 hours of listening, so it's a bit of a commitment, which I can't really do in a weekend, especially because I'm trying to get packed and finish getting the rest of my stuff out, so that when the sheriff shows up, anything that I care about isn't going to be left behind. Shogun, like I said, I only got a few hours into it. It's a story of a primarily Dutch, but the main guy is British, so he ended up on a Dutch boat and they got kind of blown off course. And it's set in the 1600s, and he ends up living among the samurai. But I was curious about it because they're actually remaking the series, so it's going to be longer than a mini series, but like a short series coming up, and I think it's going to be on, I want to say HBO, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So I might continue it before sorry, somebody's walking around in the parking lot. So I might continue it before it becomes a TV series. And then the other book that has been much easier to read, of course, as always, Jackie Collins never disappoints. The third in the Lucky Santangelo series, Lady Boss. So the premise of this one is Lucky, she's now a successful business magnate, and she decides she wants to buy a movie studio. And she goes to the owner of the studio, and he tells her, well, if you go undercover for 6 weeks, get all the dirt on everybody, you can buy my studio. So that's what she does. And she learns, who's stealing, who's on drugs, who's sleeping together, all of the dirt, all of the sleaze and the excitement. So it's a really fun book, and it's where Jackie Collins started bringing together her Hollywood series and her Santangelo series and kind of mixing them up, because some of the characters are in other books too. But a fun read, definitely recommended. If you want some good trash to read during GARBAUGUST, I absolutely recommend the Santangelo series by Jackie Collins. It's in the late 80s, early 90s. By the early 90s, that's when she starts getting a little formulaic, but the characters are still a lot of fun to read about. And I guess the last thing that I would like to announce that I'm really excited about is that I had my story accepted for the GARBOLOGY, which I'm really, really stoked about. Last year, Criminoli and Troy Trotup teamed up to put out an anthology of short stories representing the best of the trashiest that people could come up with. And I got my story in like just under the wire. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and I was like, it's midnight in Hawaii. But I'm really, really, really excited that my story was accepted for the GARBOLOGY, and I'm looking forward to going through the editing process and revising my story some, because I stayed up all night working on it, but I felt like I skimped a little bit on it. I could have probably done better in some places, but you're always your own worst critic, right? So I'm always happy. I'm so thrilled that it was accepted, and really looking forward to the finished product. And I'm really, really looking forward to you know, the other stories that were accepted. And especially what I'm especially curious about is the, sorry. Oop. What I'm especially curious about is what they're going to do for a cover, because one of the things that is always fun with trash novels is the covers, right? So I do hope they come up with something really cool. And you can look for that in August of the coming year. That's when it's slated for release. So there will be more updates on that in the future. So stay tuned and enjoy the trashy journey. I know I have. So thanks again to Ollie and to Troy for accepting my story, and really looking forward to what's to come. All right, I guess that's enough for me. I gotta go in and keep packing. Wish me luck in the next week. I'm gonna need it. And I hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.